Hey everyone, this is Jeff from Rockridge 4Wd.com. I've been meaning to do a short video about the aux locker and the air operated shift system for a little while now. It's just been kind of difficult to get to it. You're going to have to apologize. I wrote out this whole thing so that I wouldn't forget anything. So if it sounds like I'm reading from a couple pieces of paper, it's because I am. So anyways, let me get on with it. As many of you know, there are many choices out there for a locker, but right now we're going to focus on the aux and ARB. This is only for comparison, not to be confused with a bad review against ARB, because ARBs have a very wide application range and they're a very strong and reliable locker when set up correctly. Okay, so let's start off with the obvious reason most people buy the aux locker. Most customers buy them simply because they can be controlled without an electrical or air connection. People jump to the assumption that the cable and manual shifter is foolproof and will always work. This assumption isn't necessarily correct, and let me explain why. The obvious would include the fact that cables stretch, they rust, and they require constant maintenance and adjustment. This means you'll be spending a lot of time making sure your locker locks when you need it to. What most people are not thinking about is how much resistance there is with a cable system and how much harder the locker has to work to unlock because of that resistance. Inside the aux locker, there are only 4 tiny little springs. Those springs have the job to push back that cable all the way to the shifter. Of course, the longer the cable, the more resistance, the longer it's going to take to disengage. That is one of my biggest complaints with the aux locker, is the cable system. So, while I love the aux locker and I hate the cable system, I decided that the air system is really awesome, and I'll explain why. Okay. When you hear the phrase air locker, most customers automatically think of the ARB or zip locker. Both are great and both get the job done just fine. However, they are packed with many seals, some which are moving and will definitely require replacement at some point. This involves full disassembly of the axle to repair or maintenance, and that can be very costly over the long term. The locker that should pop into your head after this video is the aux locker. Their proven strength, reliability, and their simplicity is by far amongst all the selectable lockers on the market. Okay, the aux lockers, the covers, all the components that go into the aux locker is 100% USA made. The machine work is very nice. It's got a 4-pinion design on virtually all of their lockers. Excuse me, that was my phone. Had a text message coming in. When I say 4-pinion, this is what I'm talking about. You've got your 2 side gears, and then you've got your 4 spider gears, also known as your 4-pinion gears. Okay. Some lockers only have 2 spider gears, and that's a pretty weak design. As you can see, it's going to cover basically only a few teeth on both side gear, top and bottom. When you have 4, you basically double that strength. So that's really one of the strong points of the aux locker. Anyhow, let's go over the aux real quick and show you some of the components and what makes them such a quality piece. So you'll notice that this particular locker is it's actually for a JK Dana 44, but this happens to be a 35 spline upgrade. As you can see, these beautiful gold shafts from G2 here. Anyways, This dual drilled feature is extremely nice because of the fact that JKs have 7/16 and 1/2 inch ring gear bolts primarily. This happens to be a JK 538 gear right here, and it's got 7/16 and 1/2 inch. This is basically important because most of your other carriers out there are going to come with the smallest ring gear hole drilled, which means you, the installer, is going to have to drill the hole out to run the required size. That can be tedious. It can take a lot of time, money, especially if it's a true track. That's got to be done in a machine shop. And you can avoid a big mistake when it comes to running an aux locker just because of this feature alone. But yeah, anyway, who wants to have to deal with that? You don't have to with the aux. So anyhow, the aux is a simple carrier design. There's no air or electricity that's going to power a magnet. It installs just like a standard carrier case. The benefit is that you can go through the install like any other differential. I mean, that's a big deal for installers. ARBs, zip lockers, E-lockers, they all have holes that need to be drilled into the housing. Excuse me. They all have holes that need to be drilled into the housing for either the airline, like the bulkhead fitting, or the electrical connection. Air lockers also need to have the O-rings carefully installed into the seal housing, which gets put on the bearing journal, and the copper tube has to be routed up to the bulkhead fitting, where there's another O-ring and compression fitting, and so there's many places where air can leak. So that's one of the big bonuses to this carrier, just being a carrier and not having anything going into it. Yeah, and basically one of the other big deals about that is, if you have an air leak, it's going to require you to pop your cover. It's going to require you to basically disassemble the entire axle to get to those O-rings, or to fix that copper tube, or to, you wouldn't have to tear everything apart to fix the bulkhead fitting, but the seal housing O-rings and the copper tube are problem enough. So with the aux locker, there's no need to even pop the cover if there's something that needs to be repaired that has to do with locking the locker itself. Unless, of course, there was a complete mechanical failure here, which I've actually never heard happening with an aux. So anyhow, the aux locker's air connection is simply a push lock fitting, which you can see right here. The air shift kit comes with a few of them. It also comes with a mechanical air switch, which is fine. I just prefer to use an electric solenoid that opens and closes, and when it opens, it releases the pressure in the line so that the air locker disengages. But anyhow, let me show you really quick how this system works. So here's your port that you would normally screw your aux cable into, the shift cable. In this particular scenario, being that it's an air system, you're going to have this adapter that's going to screw into the cover. I'm not going to go screw it all the way in right at the moment just because of the video, but then you got your push lock fitting, which screws into that, and of course you snug everything up, and then you got a simple connection just like on an ARB and the solenoid. The air line just goes in it just like that. If you ever got to pop it off, bam, just like that. You don't have any holes that you got to drill into your housing. You don't have any of that. So anyways, that's how that works. It's a lot better than their old design. Their old design used to be a big actuator. You can still use that, but most people didn't like it because, you know, it's susceptible to getting hit on rocks and whatnot. Let's go over this cover real quick since we're looking at it. It's a heavy-duty nodular iron cover made in the US. You got a fill port here. It comes with new cover bolts, which are of course recessed. That helps protect them from getting damaged. Then you got a drain hole, which is really nice for needing to change your oil. Okay. All the covers are labeled with the part number. Anyhow, this is the shift fork, okay? When you put air to this cover right here, or you put the cable to it, basically all it's doing is it's pressurizing this little cylinder and it locks the locker, okay? When you take the air pressure away, the little springs inside the locker are going to push the shifter back over, okay? With the cable, there's a ton of resistance, like we were already talking about. With air, there's no resistance, it's gone, okay? So, and it's confined to this space. It does not leave the cover unless you had a, you know, serious leak right here, which could still be remedied a hell of a lot easier than an ARB. Just because you could pop the cover off, it wouldn't require full disassembly. The other really neat thing is that Ox has a proven fail-safe here. It comes in this nice little container. You can throw it in your glove box. It's called a drive-away lock, okay? So for all you paranoid folks that refuse to have an air locker because you think that it's going to leave you stranded, this is the little gadget for you. It just screws in right here, and of course the spring puts a lot of tension on it so that it always is going to stay locked at this adjustment. But you can manually lock or unlock your locker if you have catastrophic air failure, or you lose too much line that you can't repair, or whatever the situation may be. The fact is, you can lock and unlock your locker. Okay? Let me get back to the paper. Okay. Already gone over all that. Okay. So one of the benefits to having an air locker is that you have an air source. Having an air source, you know, if you get the right one, means that you can air down your tires and air them back up, and you can be self-sufficient. One of the benefits to having onboard air other than airing up tires is if you get a flat, you can keep a tire plug kit and you can, repair your tire and get back on the road. So that's kind of a bonus of having an air locker and having an air system. This particular locker can operate with as little as 80 psi. I think they're wanting, on average 85. So you can use virtually any air system. I mean, you can use CO2, Viair, a homemade system, any of the ARB compressors, whatever you like. One of the really big features of the Ox is the fact that everything is made in the USA. Not very many manufacturers can say that. If you look here, they got lock tabs on the case bolts. It's very nice machining. Every component is USA made. Covers are USA made. I mean, it's all USA made. This air hose here, unlike ARB airline, is just your standard 1/4 inch OD. You can get many different types of this. What's included with the Ox is this black line, but there's some more heat resistant blue line that's available that a lot of guys in the HVAC industry, heating refrigeration, use. That's very good for if you're running something next to something hot, you don't want it to go through the airline. So anyhow, that just about wraps up my review here. You can check out all the aux locker products at rockridge4wd.com. And if anybody has any questions or would like a quote on an aux locker, please be sure to get a hold of us by calling 509-588-7800, or you can shoot us an email at sales@rockridge4wd.com. You can also leave comments in the comment section below the video. Thanks again for watching.